Chosen one, the thing you are afraid of has already been defeated. I need you to hear that before anything else is said, not as a motivational phrase, as a fact about the actual reality of your situation. The specific fear that has been living in you, the one that keeps surfacing in the quiet moments, the one that wakes you up at night and sits with you in the early morning before the day gets started, the one you have been managing and carrying and trying to think your way through without ever fully getting free of it, that thing has already been defeated. Not will be, already is. The reason you are still afraid of it is not because it still has power. It is because fear does not update itself automatically when the threat is removed. Fear is a habit, a learned response, a pattern that the nervous system maintains long after the original reason for the pattern has been addressed. And what I need to do today is update the information you have been operating on. Stay with me through everything I am about to say, because the understanding I am building toward in this message is the thing that is going to finally break the specific hold that fear has had on your life. What I am saving for the later part of this conversation is the piece that makes everything else make sense. Do not leave before we get there. Let me talk about where the fear came from. Because fear, like the kind you have been carrying, does not arrive without a reason. Something happened. Maybe one specific thing, maybe an accumulation of things that built up over time until the weight of them became a fear that runs underneath everything. Disappointments that taught you that hoping puts you at risk. Situations where the thing you feared actually happened and the experience proved the fear was justified. Relationships where trusting someone cost you in ways that made trusting feel dangerous going forward. Every fear you are carrying has a history, and the history is real. I am not asking you to pretend it did not happen or to decide that what you learned from it was wrong. You learned real things from real experiences. The problem is not what you learned. The problem is that what you learned was about a situation that is no longer the situation you are in. The past that taught you to be afraid is not the present you are living, and the fear that made sense then is costing you something now. It is costing you the full version of your life, not the surface version. The deep version, the one where you move toward things rather than away from them, where you reach for what you were made for rather than staying in the smaller, safer space that fear has defined for you, where you trust enough to be open and open enough to receive what has been trying to reach you. That is what fear costs, and I am asking you today to stop paying that cost. Not by trying harder to not be afraid, not by white-knuckling your way through the fear until it eventually loosens, but by replacing what is at the center of the fear with something that makes the fear irrelevant. That something is the truth about who I am and what I have already done about the thing you are afraid of. Here is what I need you to understand. Fear and faith cannot occupy the same space in the same moment. They are not compatible. They do not coexist. When one is present, the other is diminished. And the way fear diminishes is not by you fighting it. It is by faith increasing. When faith grows large enough, the fear does not get defeated. It just stops being relevant because something bigger has taken up the space it was living in. That is what I am doing in you right now. Not fighting the fear directly, replacing it with something that makes the fear irrelevant. And the something I am replacing it with is a clear picture of what the fear is actually up against. What the fear in your life is up against is me, the same power that created everything that exists, the same authority that nothing in heaven or earth or anywhere else can override.
the same love that has been pursuing you since before you were born and has not stopped for a single moment of your life. That is what the fear in your life is up against, and it already lost. I want to name some of the specific fears that have been living in you because I think naming them takes some of their power away. Fear that what you have been praying for is not going to come, that the waiting has gone on long enough, that the answer is simply not coming, and the hope you have been holding was always going to end in disappointment. That specific fear has been a quiet voice in the back of everything for a long time now.
I need you to hear me on this. That fear is a lie, not a misunderstanding, a lie. What you have been praying for is not forgotten. What you have been waiting for is not canceled. The silence has not been absence, it has been construction. And what I build takes as long as it takes to be built correctly. The answer is coming. The timing is mine. And the fear that it is not coming is the enemy's most effective tool against your ability to receive it when it does. Fear that you are not enough for what is ahead, that the version of you that exists right now is insufficient for the doors that are about to open, that the gifts are too small and the history is too complicated and the faith has been too inconsistent to qualify you for what you have been believing for. Also, a lie. I did not choose you because you were already sufficient. I chose you so that I could be sufficient through you. The insufficiency you feel is not a disqualifier. It is the space where my strength operates. The person who knows their own limitations and trusts me anyway is exactly the kind of person I can use because they are not going to take the credit when things move. They are going to know exactly where it came from. Your insufficiency is not your obstacle. Your fear of your insufficiency is. Fear that what happened before will happen again, that the specific painful thing from your past is going to repeat, that the pattern will continue, that you will trust and be let down, hope and be disappointed, believe and find yourself back at the beginning again. I understand why that fear is there. The pattern that formed it was real, but I need you to hear this. The God who was with you when it happened before is the same God who is with you now. And what I was doing in you through those experiences, even the ones that hurt, was building something that cannot be built without going through them. You are not the same person who went through those things. You came out the other side of them with something that you did not have going in. And what you came out with changes what is possible for you now. The past does not have to be the script for the future. Not because you try harder, because I am the one writing what comes next, and I do not repeat chapters that are finished. I want to talk about what choosing faith actually means, because I think it has been presented as something more abstract than it actually is.
Choosing faith is not a feeling. You cannot wait until you feel faithful and then choose faith. The feeling comes after the choice, not before. Choosing faith is a decision made in the absence of the feeling. It is the act of orienting your life toward what I have said over what the fear is saying. Not because the fear is not loud, it is loud, but because what I have said is more true than what the fear is saying, even when what I have said is not the thing the fear is letting you feel in the moment. Faith is a choice made every single day in the specific moments when fear shows up and presents its argument. And the argument fear makes is always the same argument. What if it does not work out? What if I am wrong? What if the thing I am trusting for does not come? What if I open myself up and get hurt again? And the answer to every single version of that argument is the same answer. The one who holds the outcome is not the fear. The one who holds the outcome is me. And my track record with the lives of the people who trust me is not a record of abandonment. It is a record of showing up, of coming through, of moving in ways that the fear said were not possible, of keeping promises that the waiting made look like broken promises until the moment they were kept. That is who you are trusting when you choose faith, not a vague spiritual concept. Me, the specific God who has been with you through every season of your life, including the ones where my presence was the least visible, and has not once let you be ultimately destroyed by anything you went through. You are still here. That is the evidence. You are still here after everything that was designed to take you out, still believing, even if the belief is thin right now, still reaching, even if the reaching is tired. That is not nothing. That is the result of a faithfulness in you that has been maintained through conditions that should have ended it. And what I am asking you to do today is to let that faithfulness become something more than just holding on. Let it become something active, something that moves toward the thing feared rather than away from it. Something that says, I know you are there, fear, and I know why you formed, and I acknowledge that you feel real, and I am choosing faith anyway. That choice changes things, not the circumstances immediately, the atmosphere. The spiritual atmosphere around your life shifts when you make that choice, because fear operates in a frequency that is incompatible with what I release into a life. And when you choose faith, you change the frequency. You create the conditions for what I have been trying to release to actually land.
Let me tell you what changes when the fear loses its grip on your life. The decisions change first, the ones you have been avoiding because the fear made the risk feel too great. The conversation you have been putting off, the step you have been paralyzed before, the direction you have been sensing but have been too afraid to move in. Those decisions become accessible in a way they were not when the fear was running the calculation. Then the relationships change, the ones that have been limited by the walls the fear built, the depth that has been unavailable because vulnerability felt too dangerous, the closeness that you have wanted but could not let yourself have because closeness had cost you before. Those walls start coming down when the fear that built them no longer has the same authority. Then the vision for your life changes. The version of your future that you have been allowing yourself to believe in, the one that has been filtered through the fear's assessment of what is realistic, starts to expand. What the fear said was not possible begins to look possible. What the fear said was for other people but not for you begins to look like it was for you all along. That expansion is not wishful thinking. It is the natural result of removing a ceiling. Fear is a ceiling. It puts a cap on what you allow yourself to reach for. And when the ceiling comes off, the reaching becomes unlimited. What I have for your life is not limited by your fear. It never was. The limitation was only in what you were willing to receive. And today, I am asking you to widen the receiving. Drop the fear, not by deciding to not feel it, by deciding that it doesn't get to be the authority on what is possible for your life anymore. By deciding that what I have said carries more weight than what the fear has been saying. By deciding that the thing the fear has been warning you about has already been handled by the one who handles everything, and the warning is outdated. Choose faith today, not perfectly, just genuinely, with whatever you actually have to give in this moment, with the doubt still present and the fear still audible. Choose faith anyway, and watch what happens when that choice is made. Watch what moves, watch what opens, watch what arrives in the space that was previously occupied by fear. Not tomorrow in a dramatic moment, in the ordinary days,
in the way the clarity increases, in the way the peace begins to settle where anxiety was sitting, in the way the things you feared begin to lose their texture, in the way forward becomes visible where it was blocked. That is what choosing faith produces, not the absence of difficulty, the presence of something stronger than the difficulty, something that does not flinch at what is coming because it already knows how it ends. I am that something, and I am on your side, and what you are afraid of is already defeated because I already defeated it. Choose faith. Let the fear go, and take the step that the fear has been blocking, because on the other side of that step is everything the fear has been trying to keep you from reaching. Share this with someone who is paralyzed by a fear that has been keeping them from the life they were made for, someone who needs to know that what they are afraid of has already been defeated. They are one message away from the shift that changes their direction. Get this to them today.